Craig is recording.
Craig is recording, but I hear a damn siren in your background.
Yeah, dude, you're gonna have to deal with that.
I moved specifically for the podcast, so we didn't get those siren sounds anymore. Listen to how clean and crisp and nice and perfect the audio quality is here now.
Your dedication is far more dedicated than mine.
Well, I thank you for admitting it at least. Welcome everybody to the new and improved, at least by 50%, FTMB podcast.
54%, I think, is what we're advertising.
54. That's that's pretty good actually.
That's what's in the newspaper ads.
We've got a new member, Craig. He shall be.
Don't say hi, Craig.
Yeah, it's
don't
Craig.
Don't get on mic.
He shall be seen and not heard, and since it's a podcast, you won't even see him. So, pay your respects to Craig in the comments, but don't.
It's in the chat.
Yeah, in the chat, whatever. But we're back. This is probably our first over the internet one in a while, right? We were doing them like pretty regularly together.
Yeah. First recording in a little while.
Yeah, it has been a minute. You moved back to New York City. I'm still in Columbus, but I moved to a new area, and I think we've just been busy and we haven't had the time to really record one lately.
There's certainly a lot going on out here.
Yeah, for sure. But we're happy to be back. It's fun to be doing this again. So we got another jam session for you. So I've been liking these, just kind of doing whatever we want to do, you know?
Yeah, it's pretty fun instead of like sticking to a strict formula.
Yeah, exactly. And there hasn't. I think we'll talk about this later, but there hasn't been a ton of like new material that's really been striking our fancy to review and things like that. So
definitely not. That's been a trend recently.
It has. Is that just 2020 sucking still, or is it even 2019? I don't think we had like super fond memories of tons of things.
Yeah. I mean, this year it makes sense, right? Because it's got to be so difficult to record something to be in a recording studio.
Yeah, I agree.
But otherwise, yeah, I don't know, just not a whole lot striking the fancy.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. But there's stuff. There's certainly music to be discussed.
Mm-hmm. I agree, and we will. So I'm just messing with some settings right now on the. We're trying a new recording method right now, so bear with us as we work out the kinks. Sorry, I was just messing with some volume stuff. You were a little blown out slightly, so.
Okay. Should I be further back from the mic?
I think that might help. Yeah, it's like sometimes you sound pretty good, and then sometimes it's kind of like a little glitchy.
All right, I'm chilling.
Okay, cool. But yeah, so should we just get into the beer first, Matt? As we always do.
Before we get too much into the music side of things.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I'll go first. I got the people yell. Calm down. Hey,
like, was there a bunch of happy kids just running outside your window?
Probably.
We're children.
Hey, stop being happy.
Don't you know it's 2020? Shut the fuck
up. Well, I'm pretty happy because I'm drinking the Pumpkin.
Oh yeah, it's a heavy brew.
Seasonal classic. It is heavy. That's what I was going to say. It is no joke. I guess 8.6.
Yeah. Did you get the? So I had it last weekend, and I didn't find it in the big bottle that it normally comes in. Did you get the small ones too?
Yeah, we'll just have the regular size. Small, I guess, small but regular size of it.
Yeah, which is, I wonder why they're doing that, because that was another sort of appealing thing about the Pumpkin, was that it was like big bottles or whatnot.
It was a king.
Yeah, it was the king of pumps.
The king of pumps. I wonder if their production was just cut back.
Yeah, honestly, that could you could be right. Like with COVID, maybe something happened and bigger bottles were hard to come by or weren't going to sell as well. But
anyways, it's a seasonal classic.
We all love it.
It's a fall requirement.
It's probably the only pumpkin beer that I really truly enjoy and will go out of my way to get.
I was actually a few weekends ago. I had a New York. I'm forgetting what brewery it was, but they had a pumpkin ale that I was really enjoying. It was not so strong. But it was quite pumpkin pie reminiscent. It was pretty sweet, but not too sweet. It was less pumpkin spice and more actually pumpkin flavored, and I really, really liked it. But no shout out because I finished recording.
You didn't do the Untapped or anything. You didn't.
I know I should. I don't think I have the app anymore, but I should. I should pay respect.
Yeah, we can always put it back in and post or make a pinned comment or something.
Yeah, I'll put a comment or something. Whatever.
A shout out.
But that was a pumpkin beer that I really enjoyed.
Nice. Yeah, if you do find out about it, let me know, and I'll see if I can. Because I do like pumpkin beers, but I feel like
I don't know if you'll find it out there in Ohio.
Yeah, it could be hard. Maybe at a swap meet.
Yeah.
If those exist anymore.
Or a garage sale.
A garage sale. Yeah, a beer garage sale.
Which should be a thing.
It should. You're right.
I've seen it for years.
You always say it every time I see you. I'm talking about this beer garage sale, this beer garage sale, that. I'm like, can't shut up, this guy. Yeah.
I know. I bring it all the time.
Well, speaking of beers that are probably kind of hard to get elsewhere outside of the locality that you live in, I'm drinking a Braxton Brewing Company Cross Graders beer. I think this is not the first one they've done. Braxton is a brewery from northern Kentucky, still I think similar in the same region as Cincinnati, and Graders is a Cincinnati-based ice cream company. And so they've been doing ice cream style beers. And I saw they had a key lime pie flavor, which is like my favorite dessert. So even though it's fall time, yeah, key lime pie is 100% my favorite dessert.
Huh?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Well, if you listen to me every once in a while, you might have, you might know that. All right.
I absolutely fucking refuse to do that.
So. If you open those big dumb ears of yours every once in a while.
Now, listeners, if we're out and about, please remind me what Riley's favorite dessert is.
Okay.
I won't remember.
But it's pretty. At first, when I opened it, it is definitely a summer beer, which I think is why I got it for pretty cheap. I think they're just trying to sell it all out.
Yeah.
But it is it's very limey. At first, I was like, "This is a Bud Light lime." But upon further, it was kind of derogatory. But the more I drank it, I think the more it's been growing on me, and it has definitely more complexity than the Bud Light lime does, or like a Corona with a lime in it or something.
Are you tasting the key?
How
about the pie?
I am tasting the pie. There is like a little bit of like graham cracker in it, which is nice. As far as limes from the Keys of Florida, I can't quite say that it truly tastes like that.
You fucking heathen. How could you not know?
Do we need to take this offline for a sec?
Yeah. Craig, stop the recording.
Craig, don't say anything, but stop the recording.
Don't get on the fucking mic, Craig.
But I do like this. I would recommend it if you can find it. I do like Graders. I do like key lime pie. It is only 4.5% alcohol, so it's not too strong.
It's a summer sipper.
Summer
slurper, some might say.
That's gross. It's
what'd I do?
It's a wet and gushy is what I'd call it.
Okay, now that's gross. Craig is with me on this
a
one.
W-A-G.
Craig, tell him to stop. Don't get on mic, Craig. Jesus.
Okay, so let's wrap up this beer talk.
All right.
Yeah.
Music it is.
Music it is. Onto our bread and butter.
The B&B.
The B&B. So Matt, you asked me what are the best album closers, and I was interested by your thoughts on this. So
I don't know what triggered this question, but for whatever reason, I was thinking about the final songs on albums and which ones are the greatest closers that really wrap everything up, tie it in a bow, and really stand alone as great songs as well.
Yeah, but when taken as a whole, like when taken with the album as a whole, it also like elevates it in some ways.
Yeah. Yeah, like for whatever reason, it wraps up the album in a way that feels complete and whole.
Exactly. Like you said, ties a bow, puts the stamp on it.
Yeah. And the three that I did not do like extensive research on this at all.
Okay.
The ones that came to mind for me. Rainbow by Casey Musgraves on Golden Hour. And I've talked about this album on this podcast before. But it was my favorite of the year. It was released, I think, 2018. And this one, yeah, and this one is this song in particular is especially moving. It's simple. It's just piano and her voice. Lyrically, it's about seeing moving on to the other side of depression. So that it's pretty like emotionally very, very powerful, and just like the simplicity and the lyrics just like are incredibly strong emotionally. And for me, it's like a huge, impactful song, and I couldn't imagine like a better song wrapping up that album, which I love for its simplicity, beauty, and just like not lyrics that wows or is like singing with metaphors, but it's just about like
it's kind of like it's a simple stripped down like ballad, and it does wrap up the album very nicely.
Yep. That's my first one.
That's it's funny. I listened to it again. It had been a couple years since I'd listened to it, and I put it on to refresh my memory, and it's funny. It uses the exact same like piano tone and chord progression as another album closer, or would-be album closer. It's an unreleased Weezer song called shit. Now it's slipping my mind. I'll put it in post. Long Time Sunshine. It was going to be the closer of Pinkerton. And it's maybe something about the piano ballads or just kind of a simple chord progression makes for a good album closer.
I think there's something to that. I think you're onto something for sure.
But yeah, so that was your first one. I kind of sort of put down everything that I could think of, but I definitely think some are better than others. And whenever somebody asks me this question or I think about album closers, I think of another Weezer song, and that's the closer on their Blue album, Only in Dreams. And the Blue album is one of my favorite albums of all time. I think it flows super nicely, and something about how this song like builds and ends. It has this like super it builds and builds and builds, and then has this incredible like instrumental guitar solo at the end, and then sort of fades out, and it's such an exclamation point for this entire Blue album, which is kind of melancholy, kind of nostalgic for me. And so I think it's kind of the best of everything in that album distilled into one song, and I really like it a lot. So if you haven't listened to the Blue album in a while, or you maybe don't always get to the end, check this song out. It's really, really good.
Yeah, it's long. It's like 8 minutes.
Yeah, it's also
It
yeah,
is like there is something too about that, like the ballad at the end.
yeah. I know like Bright Eyes does it quite often, or Connor Oberst in his solo stuff as well. Do lots of kind of stripped back ballads for their ends, but also very long ones too. So um, it's an interesting pattern.
Yeah, and it's a very like Weezer song. I guess I don't know how to like fully describe that, or
yeah, it just sounds exactly like a Weezer song. Like,
yeah,
if that makes sense.
It just makes so much sense as the closer to a Weezer album.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of like wraps up all the Weezer stuff in like a big, huge thing that's like amazing and has like these waves of emotion and like goes up and down. That's a super great closer.
Yeah, and that's always like my shining example of what is an album closer. Like I'm like, this is the one. So that's kind of like I'm starting off on the highest note, basically.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So what's your next one, Matt?
My next one is A World Alone by Lord off the album Pure Heroin.
Yeah, that's one I haven't thought about or listened to in a while.
I haven't thought about it in a long time either.
Yeah.
And so when it came up, or when I was listening to it recently, I was like, oh my God, this is such a good album closer. And the album got a lot of hype when it first came out, and I feel like it's died down. Like,
yeah,
I don't know what happened to Lord. I have no idea.
Yeah, she kind of. I mean, it hasn't been that long since it's only been a couple years since her last album, but yeah, I think she got like clowned on by like South Park, and I think maybe she like got too big or something, and I think I don't know, I can't really speak for it, but yeah. I think she was the hottest shit for like a very small window of time, but yeah, we don't talk about Pure Heroin too much anymore.
No, yeah, I'm honestly not sure what happened, but that album was really great, especially for its time. I feel like it kind of captured what was going on with like electronically produced sounds and music. And
at this point, it's like a 7-year-old album at this point, isn't it? 8
years,
maybe.
Well, I don't know exactly, but I guess it is older now at this point. Although it doesn't feel like it. Even re-listening to it, it feels modern and new.
Yeah, it doesn't sound old. That's for sure.
I think it sounded honestly futuristic a little bit when it first came out, which is kind of the charm and intrigue of it. But there's all kinds of great songs on there, but for whatever reason, this one in particular really stands out for me. I mean, her voice is amazing and really unique, and lyrically, the album is just interesting and fascinating. But this one is just kind of like very sweet and beautiful, and again, like kind of simple in its melody, but I really feel like it summarizes the album as a whole. It doesn't do anything bizarre or interesting. It doesn't take us on a weird turn. It honestly isn't even really a ballad, I would say. It just kind of captures the great things about the rest of the album and makes it's just like a condensed, sweet, beautiful version of it.
Yeah, exactly. No, I enjoyed re-listening to it today for sure.
What's your next one?
Well, I'm trying to decide. Yeah, it's this next one's hard to do. But I guess if we're kind of really hammering in like the great album closers, I would say get the song "Guest House" off of the Daughters album. You won't shit. 1 second. Yeah, so I'm gonna start over here. The song "Guest House" off the Daughters album, "You Won't Get What You Want," which I think was one in my top 3 albums of 2018 as well. So we're kind of go back to 2018 here. it is, that whole album is like just oppressive and hard to swallow, but like I love it still. It's pummeling. It's brash and loud and noisy and scary kind of type of album. And I think Guest House just kind of, the reason I chose this one versus like some of the other ones I had written down was because it's another one that just kind of like exemplifies everything that that album has been up to this point, and then like cranks it up even further. And this is like the most abrasive and most aggressive and most cold like song on the entire album. And it's like it's so like it just starts off with like this dissonant uh guitar like and then like these like really mechanical drum beats, and it just sounds inhuman. And I don't know, I like that a lot. And I think it
Cool.
yeah, it's just, if that's your thing, man, check it out. But it I've never heard anything else like it. And it's like the story of this entity, this man, like trying to frantically and desperately to get into the house, but it's like been boarded up and locked, and he's just banging on the doors and screaming his head off. And it's just like, it's incredibly dark. But I think that is exactly what this album is. And I think that it kind of, it ends on such a high note with this song that I couldn't not think of. I still think about it 2 years later. So that's that was what I chose. Yeah.
My next one, and honestly, this might be just like in general one of the best album closers of all time, is Champagne Supernova by Oasis.
Yeah, you've been talking about Oasis a lot recently. I feel like they've been on your mind.
Yeah, I don't know why. They're just interesting. They're an interesting band, I guess, to think about. But this is of these songs, this is probably the one that you would hear on the radio or something. So people probably think of it as a kind of single, but it's actually the closer, and it also wraps up the album honestly perfectly. And the album itself flows really well, like extremely well. One song kind of bleeds into the next one. And this song in particular stands out as kind of like this almost like trippy, hypnotic, like it is different. It stands out. It's not all loud guitars or distorted guitars. It's like a new, they take this song into a kind of a new direction for the album, but for whatever reason, it kind of really feels like complete when you get to the end of this song.
Yeah, it's another long one too.
It is longer. It is somewhat of a ballad. You're right.
Yeah, and it's also I don't know. It's like a very like this album came out in '95. It's a very '90s song. Like it's almost like it came out in the middle of the '90s. It does it exemplify the '90s aesthetic, sort of like, not necessarily. This isn't like grunge music, but like I don't know. When I hear this, it's like it like feels like the '90s or something.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong at all. And it's also like the lyrics like are completely meaningless and pointless. Like there is no like metaphor behind it. It's just like words and like phrases. It's just all non sequiturs.
Okay,
it's kind of cool. But still like it works for people. It means something, you know. You can apply your own meaning, and that's kind of cool. I really like that idea.
Yeah, that's I don't think I actually know the lyrics at all besides like Champagne Supernova in the sky.
Like slowly walking down the hall faster than a cannonball.
Oh yeah, that's it's
Where
just
were
like,
you while we were getting high?
Yep, I do. You know, you're right. I do know those ones too.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it's the kind of thing that you recognize, but
yeah, it's poppy. It's very catchy.
Yeah,
it's like the perfect catchy lyrics.
Yep, exactly.
And I guess I'm gonna just cut out. I'm just gonna go to one that maybe you might know too. from Pink Floyd's The Wall.
Of course.
Yeah,
Yeah, as soon as I wrote this like question down, I was like, well, this is the classic answer.
yeah, it's not technically the closer, it's the penultimate track, but the last one is like a very short one and sort of just like a lot of ambient sound and stuff. There is music to it, but I kind of consider the trial to like basically be to wrap it up. And it's so bombastic and so dramatic. It's basically like a play essentially, and all the characters that are from like like all the past songs. Which this is a double album. It's almost an hour and a half long. Like everything kind of wraps itself up. And this, if you were thinking about like a way to wrap up an album, like this is kind of the way to do it. Like put the guy on trial who's been our protagonist throughout the entire album, kind of bring back all the characters that we've met along the way. And I remember listening to this as a wee lad getting into like classic rock and like just being like almost not even being able to fathom that this song existed. Like it's so out there from everything else. And it's basically like, I think I was saying, like it's like a Broadway musical almost.
Yep.
Incredibly flashy and flourishy, and not like a rock song at all, really. But yeah, great closer. I love this one a lot. I still think about it to this day.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. All right. Should we wrap this one off, or were there any other ones that you wanted to talk about?
No, I'm good with moving on.
Okay. What should we hit next then?
Let's go into one of your questions.
Okay. So this was actually posed by the Cloud Nothings Twitter account, and it kind of got me thinking. The question was, what's an album that you haven't listened to in a long time, but would immediately come to mind if you were asked about your favorite albums ever? So basically, like what's almost like a distant, like your best friend from your childhood, or like a distant relative that like like this album kind of fills that slot. It's like somebody you don't need to talk to or see every day, but like as soon as you like get together, you're like, yeah, this is like my best friend, or like this is like my favorite family member or something. Like we don't need to talk all the time, but I love this thing.
Yeah, that's honestly kind of the way I looked at this question, was like
Mm-hmm.
like an old friend type thing. And I think actually the first one that's kind of like the perfect answer to this is Enema of the State by Blink-182.
Yeah,
Which like
the two that you wrote down, I was like, yeah, I like know Matt is gonna write these two. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's like probably for like the longest time I would have said that's my favorite album of all time.
Yeah.
And it's just like silly and like very high school of me.
Mm-hmm.
But also it's an awesome album.
It's just a great album. Yeah, it's highly regarded. Mm-hmm.
I do really enjoy it still. It's just not like up my, I don't know, it's like as you get older, it's not an album that you would necessarily go back to as often. Not that I don't enjoy it like I did. It's just not
exactly. You don't need to put it on every day, but like you know all the words, you know the entire track list, exactly. And you love every single track on there.
Yeah, it's honestly part of the charm of it is like hearing it accidentally or something, like on shuffle or someone else playing it, and that's like the beauty of it. Like, oh yeah, of course, I love this. I love all the songs on that album.
It's like heartwarming. It's like, oh,
exactly. Yeah, if I was still listening to it, it would be weird, honestly, all the time. Like, that would be bizarre. But no, it's perfect the way it is. And the other one for me is Stadium Arcadium, which in our very first episode we talked about our favorite albums of all time. And I talked about it then, but I kind of feel like compelled, like this is like such like a big important album to me as when I like took music seriously, especially when I started playing music. This album stood out so much to me for that during that time, that again, it's not like I'm not going to listen to the entire double LP.
Yeah, that would take a lot of
time for that. Yeah, exactly. But I still know and love all the songs on it, and I still love the album itself as well. But it's not like I'm returning to it all the time.
Yeah.
What about you?
I think I have a very similar album to Enema of the State on here, which is Rancid's Outcomes and Outcome the Wolves. That was kind of like when I was like 14, 13, 14, and I was like starting to get branch out of the like the classic rock phase and trying to get into my own music. This was like one of the first like punk rock albums that I really fell in love with, and I listened to it in my CD player like endlessly. And I think you really hit the nail on the head where it's like I don't listen to it all the time. It'd be kind of weird if I still did, but like when I hear a track off of it, I'm like, oh yeah, like that's the good stuff. Like it warms my soul, and I know every lyric, every song. Um, I love this one, and it's I think it's like a bunch of people's gateway album into punk rock, and so it holds a special place in my heart. But yeah, for whatever reason, I just don't really listen to it too much for one reason or another.
Right. Yeah, I think that's like the perfect kind of answer.
Yeah, and then similarly, I don't quite love this one as much, but Against Me's Reinventing Axl Rose, just another one that it's in the exact same camp. Like I listened to it the shit out of it for a long time, but at some point I kind of moved on past it. But it's that album and just Against Me in general is still think very fondly of, and just a great punk rock album.
Yep. I feel like we got to the heart of this question.
Yeah, exactly. We nailed it.
Perfect.
Yeah. So let's go back to one of yours. Which one are you feeling?
Well, since you mentioned Cloud Nothings,
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to kind of dive into this briefly. Maybe is the new Cloud Nothings EP is specifically for subscribers. So Bandcamp added a feature for people to subscribe, kind of like, I don't know, like on Twitch or like a game,
or like Patreon or something.
Patreon, something like that, where you like pay a monthly fee to be a subscriber, and then that's the way you get the album.
That's an interesting concept. It's like you used to have to buy an album, but then everything became streaming. But now you have to buy a subscription to the band, like to get that out. It's like a circular logic, essentially.
Yeah, it's very bizarre to think about.
Yeah,
and as I kind of thought about this, like could this be like the future of music purchasing? Like, is this going to be a thing? And when I really think about it, like I don't think so necessarily. I think it could work for some bands or some musical groups, and the more ways that musicians and artists can make money and be able to create new art, like I'm all for it, and this is a creative way to do that for sure.
Especially during COVID, where you can't play live shows anymore, and streams only get you like a fraction of a cent per stream. Like it might be the best way to support an artist besides just buying their merch like from their store right now.
Yeah, especially if you have a strong following, like an intense group. Maybe you're not a big group, but you have fans that are really serious about your music.
Yeah, like a Cloud Nothings or a Menzingers type. Like they're
right.
not the world's biggest bands, but like they have a rabid fan base.
Right. It's a niche audience, but the audience is like very, very much wants to listen to everything that you put out. I think this could work. But when I think about it in general, music is kind of run by honestly the big artists, and I think it's run by consumers and listeners that are interested in the new pop single or the new hot song, irregardless necessarily of the artists themselves, and can kind of like, okay, this is the new song, I like this now, but then discard it later. And so I think that's kind of what the Spotify model is right now, is like it's playlist, like shuffle playlist, like just, okay, play play the kind of music that I like, Spotify, and
Yeah,
I'll
and
enjoy it. I don't really care who it's by. I'm not digging that deep.
yeah, A- and I think similarly on that, I think did we talk about it last time where Spotify is it's kind of incentivizing artists to not make albums anymore. It's like all about singles now. And if like a artist like Cloud Nothing still wants to make an EP or like an LP, like they are no longer hamstrung by like the Spotify algorithm that puts singles into those playlists that you were talking about. It's like if they want to make a complete album, they can do that because they have subscribers essentially that are footing the bill for that who want that full album.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I basically this idea was super interesting to me,
Mm-hmm.
and I love it as a concept.
No, yeah,
I don't think
it's
it's like
really
gonna
interesting to me
take
too.
over, but I think that's super cool that they're doing that.
Yeah, it is interesting. I don't think that you're right. I think you're right. I don't think it's going to take off. Um, Especially if it's like it depends on how much with like an album like you when you used to buy albums it was like the artist would release like one every couple years or 3 years or whatever if you were lucky. But if it's like if you're paying $10 a month, that's almost like buying a album a month essentially, and it's like a lot more than what you would used to. So I'm
Yeah.
wondering like how like are would artists expect us to subscribe to like all of our favorites, because that would be really really expensive by the by the end of it.
Yeah,
um
that's why I think it's such a niche thing because you
yeah,
couldn't really do that. This is more built for like people like this is my favorite band. I really need to listen to
yeah,
everything that they
and
do.
and is this EP uh only going to be available for subscribers, or is it like subscribers get to hear it for the first 2 weeks and then it gets released to the public?
My understanding, I could be wrong on this, but when
Mhm.
I like saw it pop up on Bandcamp, it was literally only for subscribers. No one else could even listen to it.
Okay,
And
interesting.
maybe later they'll release it like generally to
Hmm.
people to publicly to people, but um yeah, I thought that was super interesting.
Hmm. um let's see. Yeah, this is an interesting topic to me. It's especially like the shifting landscape of like media of music distribution is pretty fascinating. We're in kind of like the Wild West almost right now. So
Oh
um,
yeah, I love this.
mhm.
It's kind of super bizarre. It's kind of like the intersect of this podcast and music and like business, honestly,
Yeah,
which we both went to school for and
yeah,
studied.
exactly.
And it's like how one shapes the other and how
Hmm.
they both shape each other and how it's weirdly like interconnected and kind of shapes the future of what we're listening to, honestly.
Hmm. Yeah,
It's,
most definitely. And yeah, I wonder what bands think about it. Like, would they prefer that, or would they still prefer you to just go see their tour, like go buy a ticket to their show? Um,
we got to
but
ask the bands.
yeah, you got to ask the bands. What do you
Craig,
think?
put that on
Craig,
your to-do list.
Craig, ask the bands.
Don't get on mic, Craig, please.
Craig, get your hand out of there. Okay.
Oh, this sorry, briefly, this made me think of remember on albums there would be like the secret track like on a CD at the
Yeah, I
end.
like that. Yeah, it would like you'd wait like 10 minutes after the last
Oh,
track, and then it would play the
yeah,
secret track. Yeah,
I miss that. Oh,
I missed that too. I wonder if you could ever bring that back in any way.
I don't know if you could. I mean,
It's like you can see it. You can see how long the track is, and
yeah,
then you can see the secret track. Maybe it's like a hidden file. Like you have to like I don't know.
if you
Interesting though. Interesting
yeah,
side
I don't
note.
know. It's
What
I
do you
love
think? What do you like, fans? Do you like hidden tracks? What's your favorite hidden track? Write in the comments.
Craig. Do
Don't
you remember hidden tracks? Don't get on mic.
shut up, Craig. don't even
Tell us off mic
don't even
later.
look at the mic. Okay. Your next one. Your next one, Matt. I like this one too. The favorite live music performances on YouTube. Um,
Now
whether
I got this one. You sent me a YouTube video of Snarky Puppy performing
Yeah.
with Lingus, which was super cool. It was performed in New York
Yeah,
like
and it
pretty recently.
the mixing, the audio engineering on that is insane. It's like when you watch it on YouTube, they all have like their headphones in. There's like 40 instruments playing, and it's mixed perfectly.
Even
Like
like the camera shots are
yeah, even
awesome.
yeah, exactly. And the
You
camera
could
guy
tell
is
they
like
spent a long time editing this to
mhm.
like, okay, this guy's playing. We need to focus on him.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a marvel of music video virtuosity, like sound engineering, and then also just the artists themselves,
Yeah.
just being just baller. But yeah, if you haven't seen this, and you don't even have to be interested in jazz at all. It's just a fascinating live set. It's the most fun I've seen, like people playing music together, like having maybe ever, but like it's like it's infectious. And the keyboard solo towards like halfway through the song that, and then it kind of goes through to the end, is like I think considered one of the greatest modern jazz solos of like this era, essentially, which doesn't happen too often. People still kind of look back to the greats, um, who like basically formed what jazz is today, but this is kind of like builds on that. And yeah, I really love this video, and I've shown it to two of our friends who definitely do not listen to jazz at all, and they were like enraptured by it. Essentially, we just sat down and watched it, and they were like, I love that. So
It's
check
just
it out.
awesome musicians jamming together,
Yeah,
basically.
exactly. YouTube Snarky Puppy. The song is called Lingus. It's excellent. But yeah.
I was gonna ask you how you
Mhm.
came across that.
So there is another YouTuber. Um,
The guitar teacher that reacts to stuff.
no. He's a pianist.
Oh, okay.
Let me. What's his? He used to make like piano memes. Like he would find like memes and then play piano like over them and make them songs, essentially. Like you've seen stuff like that before.
Yeah.
I want to plug his name though. Um, what is it? One second. Uh, Sarah, help me kayak sinking meme. Okay, his name is Charles Cornell. He's a music theory YouTuber, and he's an excellent jazz pianist. And he said that that was his favorite like piano solo or keyboard solo ever. And so I just went and checked it out after watching a just a video. I think the video I found it out about it was like he was talking about like when practicing gets like really hard, or like who does he look up to as like a musician. And
Uh-huh.
so I was like, oh, if this guy looks up to this dude, then like this dude must be really good. So I went and
Yeah.
just checked him out. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, I asked that because I saw
Mhm.
the one guy's like the guitar teacher reacts to, I forget his name, but he's huge, so I don't need to, I'm not gonna like plug it.
Mhm.
If you're into music, like he's in your feed already.
Okay.
But he also reviewed Californication by Red Hot Chili Peppers live at Slane Castle, and it was actually super interesting. So this is one of my favorites. Honestly, just like for a while, it was an obsession of mine to watch live musical performances on YouTube, and
Okay.
this was always one of my favorites. Um, but the beginning is just a jam. It's just Flea. It's just John Frusciante, and they're
Mhm.
literally playing off each other. It's like the most incredible thing. Like John plays something, Flea picks it up and starts like playing something different. They solo back and forth while the other one is kind of like giving some like rhythm, like kind of background, and they play off each other perfectly. And that's like honestly like why I love this performance so much.
Mhm.
It's like as when I was a band member, this is like, oh, this is the dream, you know, like they're communicating with their.
Yeah, it's like they've played together for so long, they just know what the other one's gonna do, and it's like they're speaking their own language, essentially.
Exactly.
Hmm.
It's so beautiful,
Hmm.
and what that guy mentioned, which I had never actually picked up on, was the crowd. They're playing for a huge crowd, like a stadium, and the crowd starts clapping along with the rhythm of the song.
Mm-hmm.
And Flea and John both at the same time simultaneously notice that the crowd is off time,
Oh,
and
okay.
for 1 second pause,
And then so they get
like
back on time.
not even noticeably, so
Yeah.
that they get on time. Like, to
They
me, it
just
sounds like, oh, a little mistake, like a little oh, he
yeah.
played the wrong note there. But actually, they're just like delaying it for one
They
half.
just they delay it for like a beat essentially, or a half beat,
Yeah,
so that
it's
the crowd is
incredible.
back.
It's so
Yeah,
cool. So cool.
that's awesome.
Um, in the same vein, and this might honestly be like just my favorite thing. And it's actually relevant recently because Jack White was on Saturday Night
Oh yeah,
Live.
that was a big deal. Yeah, and
This
people
last,
said that it was like one of the best Saturday Night Live live performances ever. Um,
well,
I haven't watched it
maybe that's another topic that we do.
yet. Okay.
I don't know, but my favorite of any of his performances is Death Letter in Sydney 2003.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not familiar, this Jack White says this is his favorite song of all time. He's performing as the White Stripes with Meg, and so this is like a very simple old blues song,
Mm-hmm.
but the way that he performs it and the energy is like something out of this world. It's honestly what is like spiritual about music. It's like he's it's like gospel singing. It's like
he like transcends. It's
yeah,
like it
it's like
becomes more than like the instrument in him playing. Yeah, I have to check this out.
exactly. It's wild. You would love it, and I love
Mhm.
Jack White, and honestly, the just the energy that he plays with is
Mhm.
one of the things that really drew me to him. You know, as a beginning guitarist, a blended guitarist, and
Yeah.
specifically this performance is just like he's like living and embodying the guitar fully.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome. You did a great job selling that. I'm gonna like watch that as soon as
you
I can.
have to check it out. Like,
Yeah.
it's so cool. Okay, you go and
Okay. So this guy's been blowing up on YouTube lately. If you haven't already heard of him, we did look up the pronunciation of his name, and this is correct. It is Mark Rebillet, but it's spelled Rebillet. It's like Rebellet or Rebellet, but it's pronounced Rebillet.
yeah,
But anyway,
Ribier.
Yeah. But anyway, he essentially has like he's been playing piano since he was 5, so he's a pretty accomplished, like, well versed pianist. But he also has like this looping station, and he lays down these like tracks essentially. And I was watching some interviews with him. He's like spent the past 10 years essentially um, collecting like his most favorite like sample, like virtual sample packs of like all the instruments that he loves and stuff. And so he's very well versed in like playing playing interesting sound, or playing like good sounds, sounds that he wants to play. And he's also just hilarious too, so he'll like put down this like pretty compelling instrumental track, and then he just goes off the rails on top of it with really funny just improv vocals. Usually they're funny. Sometimes there's actually a pretty good song that he can come up with. But it's kind of the combination of like virtuosity of like what he's doing, how good he is at doing the coming up with these things just off the top of his head, off on the fly, and then looping it, and then also being able to come up with just like hilarious lyrics over top of it. And also he's just a great singer, and it's just like all these things combined. Like, I've never seen anything else like it, and it cracks me up. And it's also like inspiring as far as like musicianship goes. And he has a very great stage presence, and he's been making waves. He's like blowing up pretty huge right now. And like Erica Badu,
So
yeah, deservedly for sure. He's been grinding for like a long time. You can find old videos of him like just at bars, just playing to like people who like don't understand what's happening and stuff. And but like Erykah Badu like showed up to one of his shows and did his shtick with him, and she was also like super good at it. And it was just like this dude, I just love seeing this dude like succeed essentially. And check him out. He's hilarious. I think we're all fans of him at this point, like all of us and our friends.
Yeah, he's so incredibly talented. Like having just like a modicum of knowledge of how he's producing that music, and oftentimes you mentioned he'll have like the samples already, but sometimes you notice that he's playing like the MIDI keyboard and like creating the beats from scratch.
Oh, no, yeah, exactly. He has the sounds, like he has the sounds of the piano or the sounds that he wants, like just lined up, but he's generally playing it all himself.
Even the drums, like he has like the snare and the bass and like the hi-hat, and he makes the beat like on spot. Like everything is improv.
Yeah. And he never messes up. Like his looping skills are perfect. Like he never has to like
incredible.
He never has to like delete a loop or like he never fucks up the beat or whatever. It's just like he's incredibly smooth at it. Yeah.
It's so funny too to see him like get in rhythm, and he always does the same kind of thing where he's like kind of rubbing his like chest a little.
Yeah, and he's got the head bob going.
The head bob. He gets like the motion, but he nailed, like that's part of the experience. Like it's so good.
And he never wears clothes. It's like he's a funny dude. If you haven't seen, I think literally the first video I saw of him that like sold me, it's called "I'm a Flamingo" (parentheses live), and check that out. If you think that is funny, you'll probably find him to be pretty. You'll like the rest of his stuff. Another favorite of mine is called "One More Time," and that one's not quite a funny one. It's like he's super soulful on it, and it's just like all off the cuff, and it's just like and like Matt was saying, if you like understand even the briefest amount of like what goes into what he's doing, it's incredibly impressive just how good he is at it.
He's crazy. I love that.
Anyway, that's my Mark Rebier spiel. So back to you.
Fair enough. Just to I'll just wrap this up. A couple performances at Woodstock '69, like, which is crazy that there's a recording of it. I guess were they doing like a documentary or something? Like, did they know?
There's like of which one are you talking about?
Woodstock '69. I don't know the story of why there's like, but there's really good YouTube videos, specifically Santana performing "Evil Ways."
Okay.
He's like 19, like he's just a kid. And he looks
it's insane. Yeah.
It's just like such a wild guitar performance, as well as like, to me, the Jimi Hendrix like Star Spangled Banner is like just one of like the most patriotic like.
It's very topical right now as well. We're in like an election year, incredibly divisive time, just like how '69 was. 69 wasn't an election year, but it's like I feel like there's a similar mood hanging in the air, like of political distrust, angst. Yeah,
you're right. That's definitely you're totally nailed it. I feel like,
but yeah, there is good footage of Woodstock for sure out there, and I think it was a huge deal. I'm sure that there were like high quality camera equipment and audio recording equipment there, like that eventually makes its way onto YouTube. You know?
Yeah, I think that's what it is. But I mean, like the Star Spangled Banner is just like it's iconic. I don't need it.
Yeah. I used to listen to that like all the time. I had like the best of Jimi Hendrix album. I think probably a lot of people had, and I used to that it's crazy good.
And then lastly, I just wanted to mention, I was trying to think of like a new, like something new or recent that I've been, that really, I felt like I could say was like an amazing live performance on YouTube. And the one that I listed was Radiator Hospital performing our song at Suburbia, Brooklyn, and this is 2013, so it's a while ago. But it captures like that perfect like kind of basement feel of like a little indie band, and like like kind of looking back on one of their old performances, like yeah, this band is more popular now, and they've played bigger venues probably, but this is like when they were early on, and you can feel like the energy in the crowd, like kind of appreciating like what they're seeing, and that's super cool. I love those kind of performances.
How many people would you say are there?
It's under 50 probably. Like it truly is
so
like
just
a basement
super intimate show. Yeah,
which are the best, and that's honestly why I love it too. It's like just like, oh,
it's like
that.
Yeah, we can't be crowded into like a small basement or bar these days, unfortunately.
Yeah. Which are the best in my opinion. But
did you ever get to see Radiator Hospital live?
No, I think I was going to, or like I had
this year.
This year, I think.
Yes, I thankfully was able to see them a couple years ago here in Columbus. But yeah, I miss those types of shows for sure.
Red Blood music. But
yeah, we'll get it back soon.
We're rooting for you.
I think we're getting close here on time. Do we want to do one just real quick? Like what are we listening to these days? Any new favorites?
Yeah, let's do that one. Do you want to go ahead? Do you have something?
So it's getting to be a bit fall timey. So of course I've been looking for some good fall time music, and the ones that I've been sort of coming to are so if you listen to this podcast, you'll know I'm a huge fan of the band Have a Nice Life. Their album Death Consciousness, I think, is probably one of the best albums, one of my favorite albums of all time. The one of the two members of Have a Nice Life created he had a solo project called Giles Corey, and that's Giles Corey, and it's very, very, very. It's almost borders on like wintertime album. It's very melancholy, very kind of depressive, sort of stripped back music, and it has a lot of the themes are kind of in a similar vein. So I kind of like it with like the crisp weather. It's sort of spooky. It's like about the guy who made it like had a failed suicide attempt, and it's kind of about him like coming to reckoning with that. So and like before that he had gotten into like all this occult stuff. So it's like it's a very like spooky album and very haunting. So I think that it does well for October. And on a bit, yeah, basically, what was that? Is there spirit of the podcast? Other than that,
you're in for a scare.
A couple ones that aren't super spooky. Bill Frisell, he's kind of a prolific Americana type guy. His album Good Dog Happy Man is very good, just instrumental walking around type music. Very Americana, very just acoustic guitar sounds nice during the fall time. I like that. And a little bit of New Order. I've been delving back into New Order a bit. Their album Power, Corruption, and Lies, as well as their compilation album Substance. I've been having those on repeat quite a lot lately.
Okay.
Yeah. So Matt, what about you?
Honestly, Encore is kind of getting me into the new sounds of Brazil.
Ooh, Brazil.
It's just like super ignorant, like stupid, Brazilian funk. But he showed me a couple mixes, introduced me to a couple of mixes they're kind of like fusing the electronic, like future sound, like R&B type vibes with Latin music.
I probably heard it. just being at his house or
You,
like around Tomas.
I'm
Yeah.
sure you have, yeah.
Hmm.
But it's super cool. It's like the vibes are super chill, but also it has the energy from like the Brazilian funk music, which is kind of like the like Brazilian version of American trap music.
Yeah, basically, I like how you described it as like it's kind of ignorant, like, but
Yeah,
just fun party music essentially.
yeah. But
Mhm.
that's super fun to listen to. So I've been
Yeah.
listening to quite a bit of that. Um, shit. I mean, a few throwback like punk songs, just like that. Some Spotify playlists that are like the throwback. Now I'm working on a Spotify playlist that is entitled "Tony Hawk Made Me Punk,"
That's a good one. Yeah.
and just putting like old school punk
Hmm.
songs that are kind of like iconic to me on there.
Nice. They re-released Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2, like they remade them, and I've been tempted to get it just to like listen to those soundtracks again,
Yeah,
essentially.
there's
Like,
something about like zoning out, just like
mhm.
skating in a video game.
Yeah.
Listening to that music that is just like the perfect combination of
Hmm.
chill.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Man, I think you sold me. Like I think I'm just gonna plop down the $40 or whatever it is, and just to have those two albums and just kind of zone out and skate a little to them.
Yeah, it's so perfect.
Hmm.
There is honestly something about like just skating with your finger that
It's like, there's nothing dangerous about it.
yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm sure if you're actually skating and listening to the music, it would resonate as well. But
Hmm.
I'm too old for that, bro.
Yeah, dude, I can't. Just thinking about like falling off of like even like three stairs, like just fills my body with angst. Like I
Yeah,
can't, I can't even
falling
imagine doing
down
that.
sounds devastating right now.
it would break me like terribly. I would not be the same afterwards.
No. Um. Yeah. Yeah. I don't have too much else to
Okay,
say. It's just been a hodgepodge mishmash of
just a bit of everything.
things here and there. So
All
got to
right, well,
wrap it up.
yeah, well, cool. I think. Did you like the new format? What do you think about? Probably on your end, there's not much different to it, honestly.
I can't hear it yet, but I'm sure when I listen on Spotify when this bad boy comes out, I'm gonna be
Yeah, it's Craig here gives us a little bit of control over things that we didn't have before. So thank you, Craig, but don't you dare talk.
Craig, you beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful man for what you do, but please, for the love of God, do not speak on the mic.
All right. Any closing words?
FTMB squad over and out.
Squat out. Yeah, we're about to get that dub now.
All right.
All right. Peace.
Peace.